Welcome back to another segment of ACRP TV. Today, our spotlight is on unlocking hidden biases, a very timely topic. And we've got a great guest with us today. Aida Sabo is the VP for Diversity and Inclusion with Parexel International. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. That's wonderful.
All
Thank
right,
you.
let's jump right into this. You and I have talked a little bit before. I've had the chance to I hate the term pick your brain, but to talk to you about this kind of stuff. And you raised it, you used an interesting phrase when we talked last time, the bias of good people. And I thought that might be an interesting way to start off this discussion. Talk about what that is.
Michael, thank you for asking me that, because I think it's important for all of us to realize that we all have biases. And sometimes it's good to have certain biases, like example, if you see a threat, you see a bear, you're gonna stay away, all right? And so but it's important for us to recognize when biases get in the way of hiring, promotion, or when we create assumptions based on these biases. And so I believe that all of us are good people. We all try to do our best, but sometimes biases get in the way. And I can share with you so many examples for me personally. And so Dr. Banaji, who was one of the people that launched this whole area of research around biases and blind spots, she has a book called Blind Spots. And then in the bottom it says, the biases of good people.
Now, you say blind spots. That's another term I wanted to ask you about, that and microaggressions. Let's talk about those concepts as they fit into this bigger picture.
Sure. So microaggressions could be statements that could be made to someone because you may have you may not favor her group. So let me give you an example. Let's say that we have an employee that works in North Carolina and is a Black woman. And so someone could say to her, "Oh, you're so articulate. Oh, you speak English so well. Well, why shouldn't she speak English? She's, her family's all been from North Carolina. She's been raised there. She was born there. And so how did they expect her to speak?" So that's a microaggression. Um, Another one, it happened to me on a plane going first class with my kids. I was going on a plane, and there was a certain culture that was present in this plane. And so I sit there and they say, this is for first class. And I think back then they expected more men. And I said, yes, and this is a first class ticket. Also, I remember checking into a hotel. And these are around gender. And the room was in my husband's name and my name. And they said, but this is your husband. He's not here. And I go, but it's also my name. And I had a credit card and everything, but I had to get a little, I had to persistent so that they could let me in with my children at night. There's just so many. So those are like microaggressions. A blind spot is kind of like, a blind spot is when you're biased against something and all of a sudden you realize later, oh, wow. So let me give you an example of that. So I was getting, I was having major tooth work done. And I go to Dr. Gibson, a white male. And I felt that I was going to be in a good hand with him because it was an extraction, and then they were going to put like a little, an implant. And so I was a little scared of it. And then the dentist walks in, one of the other dentists in his office, a young Asian woman. And then I had kind of like a panic. I just to myself, I didn't say it. And I said, wow, I wonder why Dr. Gibson isn't doing it. And so for a little bit, there was some like fear in me. And then I processed it. And I said, you know what, Aida, how do you know that she doesn't do more of those than he does? Maybe he's running the office. Maybe he's running the office and she's getting to do more of those. And so I had a little talk with myself. And so at the end, she did a superb job, but that's a blind spot. And also another one is when you're surprised that you see a female pilot, like, ooh, like, oh, is that oh, why is she wearing clothes like that? And then you realize she's the pilot. And so that's another blind spot because I expect more of the pilots to be male. And so those are just some little examples. So blind spots could actually lead to microaggressions. I could have created a microaggression to the dentist, you know, or I could have asked her about her credentials, which sometimes that happens to our underrepresented ethnic minorities when they travel to the sites. They're constantly asked about their credentials, and that's a microaggression.
Well, it's interesting too. You're talking about processing this yourself. And one of the refrains of this program is that you can't address a problem, can't even begin to fix a problem until you identify it, name it, you know, and focus on it, which is what we try to do here with a lot of these segments. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, you recognize that in yourself, you know, with all your training, with your own background. Can you talk about ways people can mitigate some of these inherent biases? You know,
Thank you.
they're deeply rooted, but what can we do with them? What can we do?
Oh, thank you so much. So I recommend that people go and find out which groups they favor and which groups they disfavor. So they don't use the word bias. It's more like what group do you favor, what group do you not? And you can take all kinds of these unconscious bias tests at the implicit association. It's called the implicit association test at Harvard. It's called Project Implicit, AIT. And you could Google AIT test, and then you could try it. Yeah, at one point they were going to start doing it on the cell phones, but you can do it on your computer, and then you can quickly find out what you're biased on. All this information that they take about you is to put in their website, and then they can have statistics and data about how groups feel about certain groups. And so I think it's becoming aware, and then trying to like become self-aware and start catching yourself. And then taking the test, and then becoming aware. And then also in there's a resource on what to do around mitigating bias. And there's all kinds of biases. There's also proximity bias. And also there's courses. You know, we have a course in our company that is offered that we designed for our company. It's an hour and a half, and it's online, and we have a facilitator, and she's able to actually have a discussion with people after they take their test. And then also she presents some material. And also there's a lot out there on unconscious bias. Google has a 4-hour workshop that they put out there. Many companies are sharing their information, but it's becoming self-aware, just like any other leadership topic, becoming self-aware of that.
Fantastic. Really appreciate your time here. This has been our ACRP TV Spotlight on unlocking hidden biases. They can be tricky, they can be furtive, and it's exciting to talk to someone like Aida Sabo, VP of Diversity and Inclusion at Parexel International. Aida, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Michael.